The president is doing the same thing to me now that he did to me in 2017. You remember, Catherine?
Yeah, we were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to tell the story about this. So I came to the opioid conference, and the president did not know I was coming because I was invited by the First Lady. And he leaned over, saw me in the aisle, and he looked at me and he said, "Steve," and then he realized why I was there, because I had lost my son Andrew, and the president was an incredible friend when I lost him. I lived in his building at 502 Park Avenue, and I remember when him and the First Lady came, and I talked about this all the time. And so he took my hand, and he said to me, "Come on up to the stage and tell the world about your boy Andrew." And of course, that was, something that was really meaningful to me, but and I got through it. And I talk about it all the time. I talked about it on the campaign trail and so forth. He is a very special man.
All right, folks, welcome to Dr. John Podcast. Right now, a White House live stream from the Oval Office was proceeding normally until a sudden, unpredictable shift in atmosphere brought the room to a stunned silence, then erupted into chaos. The specific cause of the incident remains unclear in your description. Instead of explaining what is going on, instead of addressing whatever caused the disruption, instead of handling it with the kind of calm composure you would expect from someone in his position, Trump just looks up and says, "Everybody out. I mean everybody. The press, the cameras, the reporters with their notebooks, all of them. Gone. Just like that." And the whole thing plays out live on social media before anyone even has time to process what they just witnessed. Within seconds, the feed cuts to black, the screen goes dead, and millions of people are left staring at nothing, completely stunned, completely confused, and completely certain that something significant just happened. Yeah, this actually occurred. This is not some made-up story, not some conspiracy theory that someone dreamed up at 3 a.m, not some exaggerated tale that grew in the retelling.
And he's begun and led the fight against opioid addiction and alcoholism. And Catherine, I feel like we sort of bonded from that day. And it's just my blessing to work for you, sir.
He's a special guy. He and a group of people, Jared helped and others helped. Steve, peace in the Middle East, and we're there.
Yes.
A couple of little flames, but they're very little by comparison, and they'll go out quickly. They're already going out. And he's now trying very hard to settle up with Russia and Ukraine, and I think a lot of progress is being made there. And I told that Russia's not doing any shooting for a period of time during this horrendously cold weather.
Because of you.
So we asked President Putin if they could stop the shooting for a week. They're being hit with proportionately the kind of cold that we're being hit. It's much colder in Ukraine to start off with, but it's really cold now, and he agreed to do that. We appreciated that very much.
This is something that went down in real time, and then, as quickly as it happened, it just disappeared into the endless churn of the news cycle, swallowed up by the next outrage, the next controversy, the next chaotic moment. And the most remarkable part of all of this, the thing that should really give you pause, is that it was not even the weirdest thing we have seen in a while, which, come on, absolutely was, when the President of the United States literally clears the room and boots the press out while cameras are rolling. That is either a sign of something massive going down that he does not want covered, something that could reshape the political landscape in ways we cannot even predict, or it is the most chaotic management style in modern presidential history. Maybe it is both, and of course social media exploded. Twitter X, TikTok, YouTube, every platform was absolutely lighting up within minutes.
It's a nasty war. It's a nasty, nasty war. Would anybody else have anything to say? I can say that I am extremely late, but that's okay. Don't worry about me. Would anyone else have anything to say? Doug, you're doing a fantastic job. We appreciate it. Marty, you are really something special. Everyone's talking about you. Every time, if I don't mention Marty, Bobby always mentions it. So we have a great team. Jay, great. Marty, great. Do you guys want to say something?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, historically, with addiction, the entire society has always been reactionary, and that's been the story of healthcare. But at the FDA, we are looking into incredible cutting-edge therapeutics, and we are being proactive, giving them vouchers when we see something that's promising to get an approval as quick as weeks in an era of a 10 to 12-year approval time. And the ultimate therapeutic is community, houses of worship.
People were losing their minds, asking the same questions over and over again. What just happened? Why did he kick them out? What was he hiding? And here is the truly wild part. Even days later, even after all the speculation and analysis and hot takes from every corner of the internet, we still do not have a super clear answer. Just a moment, a single moment, that tells you everything you need to know about how Trump's White House actually works if you know how to read it. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. This is not some one-off moment. It is not an isolated incident that happened and then never repeated. No, this is part of a massive, years-long pattern that has been building and intensifying over time. Trump does not just have a bad relationship with the media. He is not just doing the whole fake news routine as a rhetorical device. No. He is systematically, and I mean systematically, trying to control who even gets to be in the same room as him, which sounds kind of wild when you say it out loud, right? But it is true.
Addressing loneliness. And so that's part of the MAHA agenda, thanks to Bobby. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. Jay?
Mr. President, in 2018, you launched the HEAL initiative, helping to end addiction long-term at the NIH. It's paid fruit. It's yielded fruit. The ingenuity of small business has developed products that can deal with pain without opioids. The naloxone, which saves lives.
Right.
That was the fruit of NIH. And for the kinds of investments that are your administration that you made starting from the first Trump term to now, will continue to pay dividends. The kind of research that the NIH is doing will help turn the tide, make people's lives so much better, restore families. All of the addiction that we've seen, the 80,000 deaths we saw, the huge spike in addiction deaths, during the first Biden term is going to be a thing of the past, and I'm so proud to be part of
And
this.
fellas, some great things happening, right?
Yeah.
Marty, there's really great things happening. I hear.
From blocking the Associated Press out of official Oval Office events to rewriting the entire rules of who counts as real media in the White House press pool, this guy is literally trying to decide which journalists get to see what he is doing and which ones are kept at arm's length. And the press is not happy about it. I mean, these are people whose whole job is supposed to be holding power accountable, asking tough questions, shining a light into the dark corners of government. And if the person in charge is literally kicking them out of the room and blocking them from events, well, that makes their job kind of impossible, does not it? So let me break down what actually went down, because there are a lot of pieces here and they all connect to show you something really important about what is happening in this White House right now. It is not just about one chaotic afternoon in the Oval Office. It is about control. It is about power. And it is about what happens when a president decides that transparency and accountability are optional. When he decides that the press is not a partner in democracy, but an obstacle to be managed and marginalized. This is the story that has been playing out in Washington, and it is about to get a lot worse. Let us rewind for a second and actually understand what we are talking about here, because the Oval Office press moment is wild, yes, but you need the whole picture to see why this is such a big deal. First off, what actually happened? Well, there was this press event at the White House. Cameras rolling, reporters everywhere, Trump doing his thing, answering questions, holding court, and then something goes wrong. Not like emergency level wrong, not a national security crisis or anything like that, but wrong enough that Trump's team decided the entire event needed to get shut down immediately. Like, we are talking commands like out, press out. People shouting at reporters to leave, security moving in, the whole vibe flipping in like 2 seconds flat. And here is the part that really gets under people's skin. The live feed cuts out. So you are watching this happen in real time, and then boom, screen goes black, and your brain is just immediately like, wait, what just happened? Why did that end so fast? That is the point, right? Because if you did not see it go down in real time, you might never know it happened at all. But we did see it, and we are not letting it go. Now, the Trump people, they have got their explanation. They say he was handling things decisively. They say there was a disruption that needed to be dealt with. They say he protected the office and moved on. Okay, fine. Maybe that is true. Maybe there was a legitimate reason for what happened. But here is where the problem is. That was not the only time. Because it turns out, and this is where things get really sketchy, there is a whole pattern of this stuff happening. In recent months, the White House just randomly decided that press access for the day was over. Like, the guidance went out, the reporters showed up, they were scheduled to cover certain things, things, and then somebody just pulled the plug and was like, yeah, you are done, no more access, everyone out. And reporters noticed because that is not normal. That is not how White House operations usually work. And even before that, going back to earlier in Trump's term, you see this same playbook over and over. He is not just limiting press access on specific days, he is literally trying to control which news outlets even get to be in the room, which is insane when you think about it. Because the whole point of the White House press pool is that it is supposed to be neutral. Like you get a rotating selection of outlets and they cover what is going on and they share that information with other reporters and the public. It is a system that has been around forever. But Trump said, nope, not interested. Section 2. And because this is Trump and because the press takes this stuff seriously, people actually sue. Like the AP, the Associated Press, one of the biggest news organizations in the entire world, they got blocked from Oval Office events straight up, and they went to court. They said this is a violation of press freedom. They said this is a violation of our rights. They said this is unconstitutional. And you know what happened? The court actually agreed with them. Yeah, the court said the White House is violating the AP's access rights. That is not cool. So the Trump administration was supposed to fix it. They were supposed to open things back up. But then, surprise, they kept doing it anyway. It is like someone told a kid to stop sneaking cookies from the jar, and the kid was just like, okay, cool, and then immediately snuck more cookies the next day. By early 2025, the AP was filing legal motions, saying the White House was in clear violation of the court order. Straight up saying it on paper in a court filing. This is not me spinning things. This is official legal documentation saying that the Trump administration is openly defying a court order about press access, which, are you kidding me? That is a pretty big deal. And here is where it all comes together, because this is not just about the press. This is about control. Full stop. Think about how Trump operates across the board. When there is a war powers vote in Congress, he does not like it, so he just does what he wants anyway. When there is an international crisis, he sends out these wild ultimatums without really consulting anyone. When there is something happening at the border or with military stuff, he moves fast, he controls the information, and he only lets the public see what fits the story he is telling. So the press stuff is not some random thing. It is part of a much bigger pattern. Trump likes control. Trump likes to be the only one telling the story. And if the press is in the room asking questions and filming things, that takes away his ability to control exactly what gets out and what does not. So he is trying to eliminate that problem by literally eliminating the press from the room. Can you believe this is where we are? And another thing, and this is the part that really shows you what is going on, Trump's team has been very open about rewriting the rules of who counts as real media at the White House. Like if you are not friendly to Trump or if you have covered him critically, guess what? Maybe you do not get a seat in the Oval Office. Maybe your outlet does not get to be part of the official pool. Maybe you just get shut out. That is not how this is supposed to work. The whole idea is that the press pool is supposed to be made up of outlets that represent different parts of the country, different perspectives, different audiences. Some outlets are more conservative, some are more liberal, but they all have the right to be there and cover the president. That is part of a functioning democracy. That is how people find out what their government is actually doing. But when you let one person decide which reporters get to come and which ones do not, that is not a press pool anymore. That is just propaganda. That is controlled messaging. That is a president deciding his own news cycle and cutting out anyone who will not play ball. And the wild part is a lot of people do not even notice it happening because it is all kind of abstract. It is like, oh, the AP got blocked from this event. Okay, yeah, that sounds bad, but whatever. It is not as exciting as some of the other stuff going on. So it just sort of slides by. But then you get this moment. You get live footage of Trump literally kicking the press out of the Oval Office, and suddenly everyone can see it. Everyone can actually watch it happen in real time, and they are like, oh no, this is what we are dealing with. This is the story that has been playing out in Washington, and it shows you exactly how this White House operates when things do not go according to plan. Okay, so let us actually break down what is happening here, because there are a few different ways to look at this, depending on where you stand politically. So Trump's people, they look at this moment and they see something totally different. They see a president who is dealing with a chaotic situation and who is making a decisive call. They see him protecting the sanctity of the Oval Office. They see him saying, we have got a situation here and we do not need cameras in the middle of it. And honestly, there is something to that argument. Like if something really urgent is happening, if there is like a crisis or an emergency or an unexpected disruption, maybe you do not want 30 reporters standing around while it is going down. But here is where that argument falls apart. And this is important. The problem is not with clearing the room one time. The problem is that this White House is making it a pattern. It is a pattern of controlling access, of limiting transparency, of deciding which outlets get to cover the president and which ones do not. So yeah, maybe one instance of clearing the room in an emergency is fine. But when it is happening over and over, and when you are also blocking the AP from official events, and when you are rewriting the rules of who counts as real media, that is not emergency management. That is strategy. That is intentional control. On the flip side, and look, this is the argument that a lot of people are making right now. Critics say this is authoritarian behavior. Like they are saying when a president literally kicks the press out of the room, that is not normal. That is not what leaders of democracies are supposed to do. And they are pointing out that there is a long history of authoritarian leaders who do exactly this. They control the media. They block out unfriendly coverage. They decide who gets to see what. And the thing is, they have actual examples. They are not just making this up. There are legal filings. There are court orders. There are documented instances of the AP being blocked from Oval Office events and the White House continuing to do it anyway, despite being told to stop by a judge. That is not really debatable. That happened. So the argument is this is a president who either does not understand or does not care about press freedom. And that is scary because the free press is supposed to be one of the things that keeps democracy working. If the president can just decide who gets access and who does not, if he can kick reporters out whenever he wants, then the press cannot really do its job anymore. And honestly, this connects to so much other stuff that is happening right now. Like this is part of a bigger discussion about whether Trump's administration respects democratic norms and constitutional limits. Because it is not just the press thing, it is also the war power stuff. It is the moves he is making on immigration. It is the way he is handling Congress. It is all of it together painting a picture of a president who likes to move fast and who does not like to be constrained by normal processes or by oversight. So when you see him clearing the press out of the Oval Office, it is not like this weird isolated moment. It is like, oh, there is that thing again. There is Trump being Trump. There is him doing what he wants without worrying too much about the traditional rules. And depending on what you think about that, you either see it as refreshing and decisive, or you see it as dangerous and authoritarian. But I think most people, if they really think about it, would agree that a president should have to answer questions. A president should have to face the press. A president should not get to decide that only friendly reporters get to cover him. That is just basic stuff. Here is the thing that really gets people fired up about this, and why this story is going to stay in the news cycle for a while, is because it is visual. It is caught on camera. You can see it. You can watch Trump motion for the press to get out. You can see the reporters scrambling. You can see the chaos, and it becomes this perfect 15-second clip that both sides can use for their own arguments. Pro-Trump people can clip it and be like, see, he is decisive. He handles crisis. He is not afraid to make tough calls. Anti-Trump people can clip it and be like, see, he is authoritarian. He does not respect the press. He is hiding things from the American people. And both sides are going to use it in ads and videos and social media posts. It is going to become this symbol of the broader debate about whether Trump respects democratic norms or not. And that matters because politics right now is so much about these moments. It is not just about policy, it is about these visual moments that capture something about a person's character or a person's approach to power. And this moment captures something pretty profound. It captures a moment where a president literally decided that the press was not welcome in the room anymore. Section 3. So where does this go from here? And this is the important part. The AP and other outlets are not going to stop fighting about this. They are going to keep pushing for access. They are going to keep filing legal motions. They are going to keep making noise about it. And Trump's administration is going to keep trying to control who gets in the room. Meanwhile, the American public is caught in the middle. Because if the press cannot cover what the president is doing, then how do people find out what is actually happening? How do people stay informed? How does democracy actually work if the president gets to decide which reporters get to see him and which ones do not? It is a question that we are going to be dealing with for the rest of Trump's term, honestly. And it is one that should concern people across the political spectrum. Because even if you like Trump, even if you think he is doing a great job, you should probably care about the idea that the next president, whoever that might be, should not be able to do the same thing to outlets that you like. That is kind of the whole point of having rules and norms, is that they apply to everyone, not just the people you disagree with. So that is the story. That is what went down. A president clears the press out of the Oval Office. It becomes a viral moment. It exposes a broader pattern of controlling media media access, and it raises fundamental questions about democracy, transparency, and whether this White House respects the traditional limits on presidential power. This is the kind of moment that defines an era. Honestly, this is the kind of thing that people are going to look back on and remember as a turning point in how we think about executive power and press freedom in America. What we are seeing right now is a test of whether the institutions and norms that have protected press freedom will hold up or whether they will crumble under pressure. And the answer to that question is going to shape what kind of country we are going to be for the next generation. Because once you start allowing presidents to pick and choose which reporters get to cover them, where does it stop? Do they get to control which news organizations can report on government actions? Do they get to block outlets that criticize them? Do they get to decide what the truth is and what gets suppressed? These are not hypothetical questions anymore. These are things that are happening right now. The AP is filing lawsuits. Reporters are being blocked from events. The White House is rewriting the rules about who counts as real media. And every time this happens, it becomes a little bit more normal. People get used to it, and the next step becomes easier. And that is how democracies actually die. Right? It is not with some big dramatic collapse. It is with 1,000 small decisions that chip away at the institutions that are supposed to protect freedom. It is with the president deciding he does not like the press pool rules. It is with that same president then deciding he does not like certain outlets in the pool. It is with him blocking access. It is with him kicking reporters out of rooms while cameras are rolling. And each time it happens, people on one side cheer because they think it is good for their guy, and people on the other side get more worried. But what should concern everyone is the precedent it sets, because power transfers. Presidents change. And if you are okay with Trump being able to control media access, then you have to be okay with the next president doing it too. And the one after that, and the one after that, until we have gone from a country where the press is free to cover the government to a country where the government decides what gets covered and what does not. And maybe that sounds dramatic, maybe it sounds like I am exaggerating, but look at the facts. Look at the legal filings. Look at the court orders that are being defied. Look at the pattern of escalation. Each time the White House thinks it can get away with something, they push a little bit further. That is how this works. That is the playbook. And the press knows it, which is why they are not backing down, which is why the AP is fighting in court, which is why other outlets are continuing to push for access and transparency, because they understand what is at stake. They understand that if they let this stand without a fight, if they just accept that the president gets to decide who gets to cover him, then they have basically given up on their core mission, which is to hold power accountable and to inform the public about what their government is doing. And that mission does not work if you are not allowed in the room. So the battle is on. It is playing out in courts. It is playing out in the press. It is playing out on social media. And it is a battle that is going to define the next few years of American politics, because this is not just about reporters and politicians. This is about every single person who cares about knowing what their government is doing. This is about your right to information. This is about democracy itself. And that is why this moment of Trump clearing the press out of the Oval Office and the live feed cutting to black, that moment is going to matter. That moment is going to become a symbol of this era. People are going to remember it. They are going to talk about it. They are going to use it to make arguments about what kind of country we want to be. And in the end, that is probably more powerful than any court order, because public opinion matters. And when people see a president literally booting the press out of the room, that tells them something about his character. That tells them something about how he views accountability and transparency and the free press. And those are things that voters care about. Those are things that shape elections. Those are things that determine the future of the country. So what is next? Well, we keep watching. We keep paying attention. We keep asking questions. We keep demanding transparency. And we keep voting with our values. Because at the end of the day, the president works for us. He is supposed to answer to the people. And if he is going to try to block the press from covering what he is doing, then we need to ask ourselves why. What is he hiding? Why does not he want cameras in the room? Why is he so determined to control the narrative? Those are the questions that matter. And those are the questions that the press needs to keep asking, even if it means getting kicked out of the Oval Office while cameras are rolling. Because that is literally their job. That is what they are supposed to do. And when they stop being able to do it, when they get blocked and shut out and controlled, then we have lost something really fundamental. We have lost our window into what the government is doing. We have lost our ability to hold power accountable. And once you lose that, it is really hard to get it back. Thanks for watching. Stay informed. Keep asking questions. And remember, a free press is not a luxury. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built.